All right, let's get right into this. We're talking about a story that's unfolding right now, right at the edge of what we thought was possible in neuroscience and medicine. So here's the central question. Can psychedelics actually heal paralysis? Now, if you'd asked that a few years ago, it would have sounded like something straight out of science fiction. But today, it's being explored seriously. And it's all because of these incredibly powerful, almost unbelievable personal stories that scientists just can't ignore anymore. And this quote right here gets to the heart of the mystery we're unpacking. Imagine this, someone with a spinal cord injury who hasn't been able to move certain muscles for years suddenly feels them fire back to life during a psychedelic experience. That's the kind of event that makes researchers stop and ask, wait, what is going on here? And let's be clear, this isn't just some isolated one-off event. These anecdotes are all pointing in the same direction, towards a deep physical or somatic side to these substances that we've almost always thought of as being purely for the mind.
So what in the world is really happening? I mean, how could a psychedelic compound possibly interact with an injured spinal cord to create effects this dramatic? Well, the answer might actually be hiding in this incredible biological workaround that our bodies create after an injury.
The leading theory here takes us right down into the neurochemistry of our nervous system. And what it suggests is that after an injury, our body sets up this biological backup plan. And it turns out psychedelics might just be the key that unlocks it by hitting a tiny little receptor that acts like a massive amplifier. It all comes down to this one thing, the serotonin 2A receptor. You can think of it like a master switch for your neurons. It's all over your brain, which we've known for a while. But, and this is the crucial part for our story, it's also located all up and down the spinal cord. This is just a brilliant way to understand the core mechanism. Neuroscientist Manash Giern uses this fantastic analogy. Hitting that 2A receptor is like turning up the gain on a microphone. The input signal, the whisper, stays the same, but the output becomes a roar. It just makes the neurons way more likely to fire. Okay, now here is where it gets really wild. After a spinal cord injury, all those neurons below the brake are basically starved for signals from the brain. So what does the spinal cord do? Something amazing. It starts growing more of these 2A receptors, making itself hypersensitive. So when a psychedelic molecule comes along, it hits this huge, overabundant field of receptors and creates this massive, powerful surge of activity where there was once silence. And this whole process, it's not just about flipping a switch back on. It might also kickstart neuroplasticity, the brain's fundamental ability to heal and rewire itself. And that's a huge deal because that's the core mechanism for all learning and recovery. It suggests these tools could have applications that go way beyond this one condition. Now, this massive surge of neuronal activity, it has consequences. And we need to focus on one of the most common and, frankly, most misunderstood of them, spasticity, or those involuntary muscle spasms. This quote from David McMillan just powerfully illustrates what's going on. He's describing people whose psychedelic-induced spasms become so incredibly strong that they can literally bear their own weight on them, using these involuntary contractions almost like a set of crutches. It's amazing. So this begs the question, is all this spasticity a bug, or is it a feature? Well, the whole perspective on this is starting to shift. For a long time, the medical view was that it's just a glitch, right? Static in the system. But from the experiential side, people are describing it as something much more profound, like an energetic release, or even the brain using the spasms as feedback to try and remap the body. And this complete reframing suggests that maybe the body has its own kind of wisdom. It's not just noise, it's a signal. And if psychedelics are the key that helps us finally listen to that signal, it changes how we think about recovery itself. It's not just about fixing a broken part anymore. It's about a conversation between the mind and the body. But, and this is a huge but, we have to be incredibly clear about something. This is completely uncharted territory. The very same mechanism that offers all this profound hope also presents very serious, very specific dangers that absolutely cannot be ignored. So here's the crucial point. This is absolutely not a do-it-yourself treatment. While these substances are generally non-toxic for most people, the nervous system of someone with a spinal cord injury is fundamentally different. And that hypersensitivity we talked about, it creates a unique and really dangerous set of risks. The number one concern, particularly for people with injuries high up the spinal cord, is a condition called Autonomic Dysreflexia, or AD. The simplest way to think about it is your body's fight-or-flight system just going haywire. Below the injury, the nervous system overreacts to some stimulus, but the brain's calming signals can't get through the traffic jam. It leads to this dangerous, uncontrolled chain reaction. So what does that look like in real life? Well, something as simple as a full bladder can trigger it, and a normal blood pressure can suddenly skyrocket to these extremely dangerous levels in a matter of seconds, and that creates a severe risk of a stroke or a pulmonary embolism. It's a true medical emergency. And this is exactly why the path forward has to be paved with extreme caution and really rigorous science. Before we can even begin to talk about whether this works, researchers have to establish that it's safe, and that has to happen in controlled clinical trials, where these kinds of risks can be managed by medical professionals. So, acknowledging all those risks, how do we actually move from these scattered but powerful stories to a potential, viable medicine? I think the key takeaway from everyone in this space is this. The substance itself is not a magic bullet. It's not a cure. It's an amplifier. It doesn't do the work for you. What it does is create this powerful window of opportunity, a period of heightened brain plasticity that can make other therapies dramatically more effective. This means that the path to getting the best outcomes here is all about synergy. It starts with setting a very clear intention. Then it's about combining the psychedelic experience with established practices like physical therapy or intense visualization. And finally, it's about continuing that work to really harness that open window of neuroplasticity in the days and weeks that follow the experience. Which brings us to Rachel Zemmer's just incredible story. It shows exactly what this synergy can look like. She's a doctor of physical therapy who sustained her own spinal cord injury, and she combined a psilocybin journey with this intense, focused visualization of herself hiking a trail that she loved. In her mind's eye, she felt everything: the crunch of the trail under her feet, the way her spine articulated, the strength in her legs. And the next morning, feeling this deep sense of integration, she just knew. She stood up from her chair, and for the very first time since her injury, she took unassisted steps. And this is really where the story leaves us, on a brand new frontier. One that's pushing us to question not just the boundaries of modern medicine, but our own understanding of this profound and incredibly powerful connection between our minds, our bodies, and our own innate capacity to heal.